What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another preview video for the Rugby Championship Round 5. We've already done one for the Bledisloe Cup Game 1. It's already out on the channel. You can go check that one out after this one if you haven't already. This one, Argentina versus South Africa. Two teams that, honestly, I think going into the tournament, when it came round to these games, my mindset was like, I think South Africa are just going to clean sweep the Argentinian team, not really have too many issues. Argentina have actually outperformed my expectations this Rugby Championship. They had a superb game last week versus Australia and having just a record win. It might be a team that South Africa need to keep an eye out for, and it might actually be one of the more interesting games over the course of the Rugby Championship. So we're going to take a look at the team announcements, give some thoughts on some good picks, some bad picks, some changes I might have made along the way, give some thoughts on how we think this game might go, and finally, of course, giving a score prediction that may be bang on or it might be way off. That's basically been my entire history throughout this Rugby Championship. Drop down in the comment section what you guys think of the teams, any changes you would have made, and who you think is going to win this one. Let's start out then with Argentina. Like I said, they got that massive win over Australia. Opening 30, disastrous. And I was honestly thinking it's going to be one of those games for Argentina. It had shades of that World Cup game versus England in the pool stages where I was like, nothing is working for them. They just cannot get this together. Australia have got 3 tries. They're 21 points up. They're having a great time. I was like, this is just where this game's going to go. One unfortunate thing for Argentina. And then out of the blue, get to 30 minutes, they just said, you know what, we've had enough of this. Let's start playing rugby and let's just start being absolutely clinical. I feel like basically everyone in the team got a try by the end of the game. They just wouldn't stop all the way. They got past the 80-minute marker. They're still going. They want to get that one more try right at the end just to really stamp it down. And I thought it was a superb second half by them. It's one of the better halves of Argentinian rugby I've seen ever, I think, probably. So going into this week, not a lot of changes to talk about. They're obviously thinking a bit more of a if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of deal. There are going to be some points to cover though, but we'll start out in this front row. So Thomas Gajo, Julio Montoya, and Sclavi going in there in the tight end department. Now Julio Montoya next week. I've said this before about him. It's so interesting. His game. He will either have a brilliant game where it feels like he's saving the team single-handedly, or he will be this penalty vacuum that starts sinking the team. And I think we almost got to see that in that game last week on its own. The opening 30, I think Julio Montoya got picked up for 4 different penalties and just kept giving Australia the way to go forwards. And then afterwards, he sorted himself out. Jackal penalties going in. He's over the ball. He's making superb tackles. And you think, if he just manages to balance that gameplay and only plays in that secondary way, it's so much better. So I'm really hoping we do get to see him, at the top of his game. He had such a, a big, sort of award going on with the stadium last week and what have you. Lock department. Molina goes back in alongside of Rubiolo this week. So a change in the lock department last week. We had Guido Petti and Lavanini. So they're mixing up in the lineup. Maybe they thought it was an area they weren't really making too many inroads with against Australia. South Africa got a lot of big jumpers, but at the same time, South African lineout has been questionable, I would say, over the course of this Rugby Championship. Malcolm Marks, especially going for those long throws, has been an area where teams have been able to sort of pick them off. So they've gone for a bit of a switch up, hoping Molina and Rubiolo can maybe do a bit of dislodging there and not really let South Africa get on that front foot using the forwards. Back row, Matera, Kramer and Oviedo coming in here this week. Gonzalez has been moved to the bench. We can't see it. We'll get onto the bench in a bit. But Oviedo came on last week, got over for a try as well. He made a huge impact from the bench. We always know the massive ball carrying capabilities of this Argentinian back row in whatever combination they go for. But Oviedo had a superb impact from the bench. Nice to see. I think Gonzalez got over for a try as well, actually, last week. I think everyone just got a try. But Gonzalez on the bench will be coming on later, and a dangerous player to bring on later on when teams are a little bit more tired, a little bit more fatigued, can get around. I still like this as a starting row. I think I might start Gonzalez over Oviedo, but, I think they can be a little bit interchangeable in the way that Argentina want to play them. In the halfback partnership, Bertrand goes back in alongside of Albornoz. Now, I didn't get to talk about the Argentina team last week. Albornoz getting the nod ahead of Santiago Carreras. And I said it at the very start of the tournament, is Santiago Carreras the 10 you want in this Argentina team? And then he had a superb game. And I was like, I feel kind of silly now for saying that, because that is what this lad can do. Albornoz came in last week and I think he's creating some stuff. I think his kicking was good, and I'm like, maybe I'm leaning back towards that initial statement of mine. Is Albornoz the way that this Argentina team could be going? Santiago Carreras is going to be back on the bench again. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but I'm looking forward to seeing another game from Albornoz just to see how he's going to orchestrate that sort of team and how they're going to work around the field, because I do quite like him in that fly half shirt. Centre partnership, Choco Barres going back in alongside of Lucio Cinti. I think Choco Barres might have been the only one to not get over for a try last week. Lucio Cinti got over as well. Thought he had a really solid game. There's a lot of interchangeability in this Argentina backline with people being able to swap between centre and wing and what have you as well. But for me, this is probably the centre partnership I'd be looking at every week. I think these two work best together. I still enjoy watching Choco Barres. I think maybe he's been a little bit more quiet than I expected. He's such a heavy ball carrier, but teams have really chopped him down throughout the Rugby Championship. They've not really let him get underway. He had a bit more room to work with last week, and it really began to open up. He was always just finding those little gaps, getting a little offload, causing a bit of nightmares for defence. Someone to keep an eye out for in this one. And then in the back three, Mateo Carreras goes back in alongside of Delgui and Juan Cruz Melia, who got over tries as well. I think Delgui didn't get over for a try. I've actually got to stop talking about who didn't get a try. That's how you know you've had a good game, right? When you have to start picking players out. I think these guys were playing well. Delgui maybe slightly quieter than the other two. Melia had a really, really big impact into this game. He's in there again as vice-captain this week. I'm liking the setup, to be fair. I don't really think there's a lot of changes I would make there. You might want to have a look at that lock department. But for me, I feel like Lavanini still gives away a few more penalties in that lock department. So I really don't mind this setup of having like Rubiolo and Molina in there for me. And then quickly, in terms of the finishers, Ruiz, Calles, and Delgado are going to be going in there. Now, as a replacement from Rowe, I've maybe a little bit of a step down from what we've seen in other games. I think that one might be one of the more questionable areas. I think when it gets down to that second half, a team like South Africa, like taking on their scrums, like taking on their set piece area, I'll be keeping a close eye on, because that second half, when you had Australian forwards coming off and the replacement came on, Argentina were really able to exploit it. This secondary front row, maybe a little bit more questionable for me. Rest of the replacement forwards alongside them, Guido Petty and Gonzalez, as already mentioned. Now, interestingly, they've gone for the 5-3. They went for the 6-2 last week, and I think it really worked for them. They did keep it a lot within the forwards for a big majority of that game, but it was what I call the conveyor belt rucks. The going into a ruck, clean out quick, pick up by another forward, carry it another 5 meters, go down, another ruck, and you just sort of conveyor belts on. That's where Australia was struggling, being able to deal with them, and then you just ship it out wide and you let the backs just run around because they've had to bunch up. South Africa defend more narrowly around the ruck than Australia do, and maybe Argentina are seeing that too and thinking that technique will not work as well against South Africa as it did against Australia. So they've switched to the 5-3, which I'm hoping would mean they're going to want to play a bit more expansively. They want to get it out wide more. Replacement backs, Garcia, Santiago Carreras, and Moroni also on that bench for them. So, they've got, good players coming on from the bench there who are hopefully going to make a decent impact. I think if you're going to go for the 5-3 versus South Africa, you need to be the team flinging it around. You need to be all over the place. You need to be trying to tire out those South African forwards, making them run. You've got to do a lot more kicks. You want to try and keep the ball away from them. Don't get stuck in that midfield and just go through the forwards, which sometimes I do think Argentina do, even when they don't need to be. We'll see how it gets on. I still wondering maybe they should have gone for that 6-2 just to have fronted up against South Africa, but 5-3, let's see how they get on. Speaking of then, moving on to South Africa. Last week getting another win over New Zealand. They're 4 from 4. They are just loving life at the minute, South Africa, right? They are having a couple of maybe rough first halves where they're losing at halftime on the scoreboard and what have you. But they're really feeling like a gelled together team. They are just not giving up, and they've got this sort of mentality that they will just go on to win. They'll take their time. They will eventually get there, and they just are doing. And it's working for them. Now, going into this game, we heard sort of last week the team that was flying out, and there was quite a few, starting players, in air quotes, however you want to think about them, players I would expect to be in a starting team for South Africa at like a World Cup. Quite a few of those starting players missing. They've gone over to Argentina with, I don't know if you'd call it a B team. I think they're missing a lot of starting players, but it is kind of mad to see where the depth of this South Africa squad is. That, to me, I would say this is more towards a B team, but this is still a really strong team for a B team. There's a lot of teams that would like this to be up there for like a first team. There's still a lot of strength and depth in this squad. Obviously you're going to be missing people like Peter Steph Dutoy, Khaleesi, after Clerk, for some people, still in there. I'm personally prefer another scrum halves at the minute, but no Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu, no Damien Dialende, no Villy LaRue. Again, I know that's a bit of a 50-50 call with a couple of the Springbok supporters, but, there's a lot of big names missing from this team, and they're still looking pretty solid. The only thing I was worried about is whether they might have gone too far. The last thing you want to do is open the door for Argentina, as Australia did, and sort of take your foot off the gas or not quite front up as much as possible, because Argentina come back and punish you, as Australia experienced last week. So just got to keep on their toes and not let Argentina really get into the game. I think they're a very momentum-based team. If you just hold them out, you really gain a really big advantage there. So starting out in the front row then, Ox and Shea, Malcolm Marks, and Thomas Dutoy going to be going in there as your starting front row. Now Bongi and Benami not out there with them. Hendrik Wessels is down in the replacements as well. So Malcolm Marks getting the nod here, who I still think is a really good hooker. It's just going to be those line-out situations for me. I actually think he's playing pretty well around the park. It's just not being allowing to get Argentina into the game with the line-out situation. If Argentina are also going for the 5-3, they're probably going to be looking to kick more. If they start hitting grass and start kicking that ball out on the full, it's going to lead to more line-outs as well. Going to be an area to keep an eye on, but in terms of a scrummaging front row, certainly still looking solid. In the lock department, Murat comes back in as captain this week alongside of Ruan Nokia. Hopefully getting that pronunciation slightly better. You guys have been very helpful in the last preview video, trying to help me out with a bit more of a phonetic pronunciation for some of these names, because I do trip up on a few of them. Murat coming in. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen the thing that keeps bringing Murat into the team, and also to be captain going in there as well. I think it's an interesting call. I'm missing this. I think there's a couple of people that have really stepped up in lock department. Eben Etzebeth is on the bench for this week. He's right up there for caps at the minute for anyone interested in those sorts of stats stuff. He's right up there now for almost getting to the stage of being the most capped Springbok as well. Murat starting. I'd have preferred to have seen Etzebeth starting, but you guys let me know down in the comments who you prefer. In the back row, Marco van Staden, Ben Jason Dixon, and Jasper Wiese. Now, the last time we saw Ben Jason Dixon, I thought he was doing okay. Nothing too wild, nothing too brilliant. But he got crooked off by Rassi at like 35 minutes. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting move. And then you had other injuries. Nokia had his head injury assessment, went off, and they still put someone else on for... I know, Ben Jason Dixon was not getting back on that field. And I don't really think he did a lot wrong, but maybe just not the impact they want. Getting another shot this week at open side flanker. He can also move to that second row if you need him to. Hopefully as a better game this week. Halfback partnership, Cobus Reinach going in alongside of Andre Pollard. No Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu. They've gone back to the majorly experienced Andre Pollard. So, I think penalty kicking could be a big thing in that first half, just to put points on the board. I think Argentina do struggle sometimes when you just start to tick over those points. Take the 3 when they're available. Argentina do tend to give quite a few penalties away. Absolutely worth the call. Cobus Reinach getting the nod ahead of Jeden Hendrikse, who's back on the bench as well. I do like Cobus Reinach, though. I think I would still be starting him. I think that's a nice partnership. Centre partnership, Lukania Am going back in alongside Jesse Creel. Now, Lukania Am, for everything positive you can say in the world of Lukania Am, came on last week, and I don't think had a great impact into that game versus New Zealand. Kept running out of the defensive line, was so much further forward than where his support runners were. Might be an area for them to look at. Hopefully he's going to be a little bit more talented up with Jesse Creel this week, who ended up getting moved to the wing after the situations going on last week as well. So hopefully that centre partnership is going to feel a little bit more locked down. 2 very talented, experienced players with working together. You just got to hold that centre partnership holds up, because the Argentina centres that look to go through, like I've already said, Choco Perez getting out there, Lucio Cinti got over for Trite. Got to keep an eye on that. Hopefully they do remain tight. And then in the back 3, Makazole, Mapimpi, Kirtley, Arendse, and Afalele Fassi. Nice to be talking about Arendse back in this team. I thought he was done for the Rugby Championship after his injury. Back in the squad, no Cheslin Colby this week. Afalele Fassi's had, I think, kind of a 50-50. He has really high moments in a game and also low moments. He'll end up scoring a fantastic try and then get yellow carded for something. But I'm still looking forward to see a bit more from him. Kirtley, Arendse, and Mapimpi on the wing. 2 really dangerous wingers. I might be counteracting a little bit of what Argentina might want to do with the kicking game, maybe looking for those crossfield kicks. Can't let these boys get away, because, man, they are electric once they get running. And then quickly, in terms of the replacement, we've got Jan Hendrik Wessels going in there alongside Steenekamp, and Vincent Koch going to be going on at some point. Eben Etzebeth, Elroy Lowe, and Quagga Smith coming on for the bench, who's been benched in every game, I think, so far. Man, he's struggling to get in that starting team, but what an impact he does make from the bench. He is a bit of a monster. Salah have gone for the 6-2. I expected this. This is where I thought this was going to end up going. I think this is probably the better move against Argentina, who will look to try and... They always want to get involved with those forwards, right? I think having the 6-2 is going to give you a bit more longevity into that and really sort of counteract what Argentina want to bring. I would like to see South Africa play with a bit more width. They do have Eden Hendrikse and Marnie Libbok on the bench. I feel like Marnie Libbok is fighting for a position at the minute. Sasha's been doing so well in that fly half department that I think he's really looking just to try and get in the team somewhere. The decent coverage though, because Andre Pollard of course can slide back into centre if you need him to. So whether Marnie Libbok comes on as a direct replacement at fly half, or if Andre Pollard will move to centre, Jesse Creel's covering your wings out there. You know, Cobus Reinach is also a really quick player. I guess if there was an injury to the wing and you couldn't work out the combinations, you could have Hendrikse come on at the scrum half and actually move Cobus Reinach out to the wing if you needed him to, because he's got a really good amount of pace on him. But then Quagga Smith you can chuck out on a wing as well. So you know what, they've got great versatility in there. Like I said, I really think this is moving towards being more in line with just having like a B team South Africa, and it's still really strong. There's still a lot of very capable players in this team, and I think they'll be up for a big game. I do think the 6-2 choice is going to be the better one for this one. Don't know what the weather's like, don't know what we're expecting to see, but if South Africa have gone for the 6-2 and Argentina have gone for the 5-3, that to me is going to suggest South Africa want to keep it in those forwards. They want to keep it tight. We want to go sort of set piece to set piece. You want to try and be making sure that lineup's going to be solid. It's going to be one of the only areas I think Malcolm Marks is throwing. Going to be a major one to look at, but scrummaging time, I think they'll be up for it. Argentina and Australia were pretty evenly matched at the scrum time in that first half. It was when the subs came on, it began to get a little bit more questionable. I think I'm still back in the South African front row replacements a bit more than Argentina. So in terms of a score prediction, I'm still going for South Africa in this one. I still think South Africa will come away with a win in this one, even though Argentina also the home team advantage for this one. Well, how much do we think by? What do we think by? I'm wondering whether South Africa, you know, where they are in the table, you just need the win. You don't need to go outrageously crazy with it. You can just have a win in this one and you know, feel very, very secure given how well they performed elsewhere. I'm going to say South Africa to take this one by... I'm going to go for 12. I'm going to go a little bit more conservative there for me and where that's going to go. I think Argentina could be bringing a big game. It'll be a very, very exciting game to look forward to. This is maybe actually the game of the week, and I'm really looking forward just to see how they get on. But let me know down in the comment section, guys, who you guys think is going to win, who you're supporting, and what you think the final score will end up being. I always enjoy seeing other people's reactions to it as well. Of course, make sure you're locking in your fantasy teams and all that good stuff. We'll be going over the team of the week in Monday's video, along with the world rankings to see what has shifted up due to the games on the weekend. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.